Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Sam Plummer, and I'm the Epicor Practice Manager at 2W Technologies. And I wanted to share a little bit of information with all of you regarding the upcoming release of Epicor's new ERP product, formerly known as Epicor 11, and now known as Kinetic ERP 2021.1. This presentation is particularly directed at Epicor customers, both on-premises customers of Epicor, at our Epicor in Azure customers, as well as the Epicor Cloud ERP customers who are in the process of upgrading to Kinetic 2021 as we speak. First thing I'd like to talk about is the name Kinetic. So first of all, Kinetic is the name for the new user experience that was introduced by Epicor with the release 10.2.500 approximately 1 year ago. The first elements of the Kinetic UI were present when Epicor introduced the active homepage, which subsequently was renamed to the Kinetic homepage. But the active homepage first showed up in the Epicor ERP at version 10.2.100 several years ago. The new product, formerly known as Epicor ERP 11.1.100, has been rebranded as Kinetic as of April 6th, 2021. And on the right side of the screen, you see a copy of the press release from Epicor regarding that. All right, so I wanted to take a few minutes and dig a little bit deeper into what's new. As I mentioned on the prior slide, this is a user interface, user experience redesign from the bottom up. And in a couple of minutes, I'll be showing you some screenshots that kind of compare and contrast the Kinetic UI with the classic UI, as it is called, that we currently use in the 10.2 and lower versions of the Epicor ERP. One of the important things to be aware of here is that the Kinetic UI is 100% browser-based, and it works in any modern browser. Most of the screenshots you'll see here were rendered in the Edge browser running on a Windows 10 desktop. However, it does work very well in the Google Chrome browser as well, and it does work on non-Windows devices running modern browsers. In particular, I have some experience with using it on the Apple iOS platform, running both the Edge browser and the Chrome browser on that platform. So since we are getting a new user interface, of course, that would necessitate also a new customization tool. And that new customization tool is called App Studio. And that tool also runs in a browser. So, and this is a pretty significant change and departure from what came before, both in terms of the user interface, as you'll see in a few minutes, and the tools we use to customize that user interface. At the bottom of this slide, you'll see a couple of green boxes and an orange box. And so, as most of you know, the Epicor ERP and basically all the recent versions of the Epicor ERP are really a three-tiered application, at least from my point of view. At the lowest or bottom level of the stack, we have the database, where all the rows and tables live that store both your data and much of the system functionality all exist in a Microsoft SQL database in this case, and really have going back to the 10.0 product. I won't say there's no database changes that come along with Kinetic, because there are some, but by and large, I'm going to say 90 to 95+% of the database is really unchanged going from 10.2.700 to Kinetic. Customers and sales orders and jobs and parts and suppliers and all those data sets that exist within the database are primarily unchanged as we move from 10.2.700 to Kinetic. What is changing, of course, is things stored in the database that are related to the system and or the UI. All right, so at the next level of the application or technology stack is the application server. And of course, beginning on the Epicor 10 product, that application server was built completely out of Microsoft components, in particular, the .NET framework and coding done in the C# language. And again, that same pattern, both the database and the application server layer, don't see a whole lot of change as we move from 10.2.700 to Kinetic. So now, and on the rightmost box, the orange box on this slide called user interface, this is where the changes are happening. So again, you know, 2 of the 3 components are essentially staying the same, but that third one, the user interface, that thing that we all interact with on a day-to-day basis, is undergoing a significant change. And on the next slide, I'll show you a little bit more detail about that. So here I have 2 screenshots. On the left side of the slide, we have a screenshot of the Epicor Kinetic homepage as rendered in the Epicor Smart client. And again, I did mention on an earlier slide that one of the features of Kinetic is that the user interface is supported completely within a browser. However, it's important to note that at least for the foreseeable future, the Epicor Smart Client, i.e. that full install that goes on a Windows 10, typically desktop, is still supported, number one, and is still available even when you're running Kinetic, because all of the what are called classic mode screens, i.e. the Epicor 10 ERP style screens, are still available to you, but only through the Smart Client. So again, on the left-hand side of the screen is the Epicor Kinetic homepage as rendered in the Smart Client. On the right-hand side of this screen, you see the exact same homepage for the exact same user, except in this case, it is rendered in a browser. In this particular example, that's the Microsoft Edge browser. All right, so on this slide, I'm displaying a screenshot of what should be pretty familiar to most of you, a classic or legacy UI style screen for sales order entry. Again, you see the toolbars across the top and the design that's really been with us for the last 2 major versions of the ERP. And you know, arguably this screen isn't visually too dissimilar from the sales order entry screen, for example, going back to Vantage 8 and Vista 8. So now take a good look at this, because the next slide is going to show you what the same screen looks like as it's been rebuilt in the Kinetic style. And again, this is the sales order entry screen as rendered in Kinetic in this case, again, the Microsoft Edge browser. It's a very different user interface at first glance. However, I think you'll find that the functionality is on a par with everything that we had in the prior version of the UI. And we can go into a lot more detail about that. But again, that's not my goal in this video. It's really only to introduce you. So again, this is a very typical design for a Kinetic UI screen, in this case, the sales order entry screen. On this slide, any of you who have done any customization in the Epicor ERP recently on either Epicor 9 or on Epicor version 10, this is the ICE tools customization screen. You see the toolbox and the customization tools dialog displaying properties, and then again, a rendering of the sales order entry screen. So again, this is the legacy or classic version of the customization tools. And now as we move over to the next slide, we see the equivalent functionality in the new Kinetic tool built for customization called App Studio. And again, one thing I want to point out is this tool is running in a browser. In this case, again, the Microsoft Edge browser, but works equally well in any modern browser. All right, so I'd like to talk next a little bit about timing that everyone needs to be aware of. So as has been the case with Epicor for quite some time now, their strategy is cloud first. And so at this time, all of the dedicated tenant and multi-tenant public and government cloud customers have already had their pilot databases upgraded to Kinetic 2021.1.2. And as you see here, there is one more update that will be applied into those pilot databases, and that is on June 1st. Pilot will be updated to Kinetic 2021.1.3. And then in a few short weeks, over the weekend of June 5th through the 6th, the live database for all customers who have not flexed in their upgrade options, their live databases will be upgraded the weekend of June 5th and 6th to Kinetic 2021. That will be at the .3 update level. So that's the case and the situation and timing for all of the cloud customers out there. For all of you on-premises customers and or 2W Tech, Epicor, and Azure customers, the new Epicor ERP Kinetic 2021.1, the general availability date for that is June 10th of this year. So really in about 3 or 4 weeks yet, it will be general availability software, and thus available for download and installation and configuration, and for all of you on-premises customers to start the process of preparing for your Kinetic upgrades. All right, a little bit about preparations that have been underway at 2W Tech. First of all, a couple of our consultants, Doug Chandler and Eric Rasmussen, along with myself, have been active participants for about the last 6 or 8 months, along with the Epicor Kinetic team in a variety of programs, including the Kinetic Preview program, a detailed in-depth dive into the App Studio camp. In other words, helping to understand and also assist with testing and development and feedback for Epicor on both the application studio tool set itself and the overall Kinetic user experience. So we've been actively participating for 6 or 8 months in that. And at this time, we're actively engaged in the controlled release program, in which a select set of Epicor partners and also Epicor customers are actually getting hands-on experience. So we've done multiple installations of the Kinetic ERP in our test environments and have been participating in a program of testing and feedback with the Kinetic team at Epicor. A couple other important points I want to make for all of you customers out there, especially on-premises customers, that today, the current release version of Epicor is 10.2.700. I'm not sure, I think we're on maybe update 15 or 16 or maybe even 17 to 10.2.700. But in any case, approximately 85% of the standard Epicor forms, again, sales order entry, customer entry, quote entry, job entry, etc., are available essentially in preview mode in 10.2.700 today. And also basic functionality of App Studio is available on 10.2.700 today. So the bottom line is those of you who are already on or are in the process of getting to 10.2.700, we believe that 10.2.700 positions customers very well for beginning the preparations for the eventual upgrade and being able to take advantage of all the features that Kinetic 2021 offers. So I wanted to leave you with a few resources. First of all, Epicor and the folks at both Epic Web and the Epicor Learning Center within the Epicor organization have been investing heavily in developing new content and deploying that in the Epicor Learning Center. So I want to encourage all of you to access those resources. Now, there's everything from kind of demo mode videos you can watch, some that take, only a few minutes. And then there's heavier duty content, in other words, detailed supporting training materials to help you get as comfortable as you want to get, including some extensive help and education materials on App Studio, how it works, what the terminology is in terms of layers and the app map and things like that to help you get more comfortable with the new tools and the new terminology that goes with it. So please leverage resources that are available to you today on the Epicor Learning Center, that are available out there on Epic Web under Kinetic Resources. And of course, if you have the opportunity, being on 10.2.700, especially for those of you that are on-premises customers, the 10.2.700 releases all contain updates to the application help, which includes quite a bit of supporting info and transition assistance info to assist you with beginning to get comfortable with the Kinetic UI. And of course, if these resources aren't enough, we encourage you to reach out to 2W Technologies and ask about our Kinetic Readiness Kit, which is a package of consulting services that we've designed to help our customers prepare for and make the transition to Kinetic 2021. All right. Last slide here that I want to talk a little bit about is some focused action steps that we recommend. And we recommend these in two categories. First, for those of you folks that are Epicor Cloud ERP customers, your pilot database has already been upgraded to Kinetic. So Kinetic is available to you and it is at your fingertips. We encourage you to get into your pilot database, to get familiar and to take advantage of all the learning resources that are available that I mentioned a couple of slides back to help you understand and get comfort and drive adoption of the Kinetic UI within your organization. Second important point here is to get a test plan. And the test plan is basically that list of, it's essentially a script for you that will help you ensure that you have tested in your pilot environment, quote to cash, procure to pay, all of your critical processes so that you can be ensured that when your live database is upgraded the weekend of June 5th and 6th, come Monday morning, your organization is ready to hit the ground running. Of course, for all those on-premises and Epicor and Azure customers out there, we're recommending that the place to be right now is 10.2.700. So getting to 10.2.700, we believe is a really good place to be right now for you. This gives you the opportunity to get familiar with Kinetic and to begin also assessing that test plan, helping your users to make the transition, and also, and most importantly, to identify all of those critical, unique business components. Also, many people refer to these as customizations, BPMs, report styles, etc., and start preparing your organization for uplift of all these unique business components into Kinetic 2021. Again, you do have the ability in Kinetic 2021, if you choose to use the Epicor Smart Client, to continue to function with all of your legacy or classic mode customizations completely functional in Kinetic 2021. All right, so last slide. If you need more help, again, we encourage you to reach out directly to us at 2W Tech. We would be glad to talk to you about your concerns and your needs. We do have a package of consulting services called our Kinetic Readiness Kit, which again are designed to help you prepare and upgrade successfully. And of course, you can contact 2W Tech for those of you who are established customers by reaching out to your customer account manager or client success manager. For those of you perhaps who don't know who your client success manager at 2W Tech is, or those of you who might be new to 2W Tech, just send an email to sales@2wtech.com and we will get back in touch with you. So thank you very much. And I wish you nothing but success in your endeavors as you prepare for Kinetic 2021. Thank you.